Welcome to another episode of The Voice That Sees. Today, I'm really excited to have a beautiful guest with us today, Isis Mejía. She is a physical therapist with 16 years of experience and ongoing, and she brings a beautiful blend of both Eastern and Western medicine to her practice and also holistic healing arts. And I feel that getting to know Isis a little bit more, she has this beautiful, what I feel is a very genuine, authentic style of leadership as well as genuine care. She's also the president of Nosara Animal Care. And I feel really honored to be highlighting her work today, as well as her being the founder of Nosara BodyWork and just honoring the beautiful person she is, the leader that she is, and how much service she brings to community. And I feel that many people will gain something from her beautiful story today. So Isis, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's really an honor to be here. And hopefully this is going to be helpful for our viewers, your viewers. And yeah, I'm just happy to share with an open heart, an open mind. And yeah.
Thank you. So, I've gotten to know you a little bit more, and I know from outside in, and I've told you this, so I'm not afraid to share this when I have like a girl crush on someone. It's the first thing I said to you. I'm like, okay, you're beautiful. And I think that is part of female empowerment, which is beautiful, to honor another woman's beauty. And, getting to know you a little bit more, I also noticed there were also intimate aspects of you. And I know that it takes time to kind of come undone and to share those more vulnerable aspects that really make up the whole. And I want to share that when I was able to get to know you a little bit better, I felt even more connected to your story because I could see it's not just outside in. There's a story as to why you built Nosara Bodywork and also how it expanded. And it goes beyond just having a wellness center. It's a big deal, but it's also the internal structure that shifts first before we can create it outside, right? So the first thing I would love for you to share with our viewers is, what was a story to coming to the jungle? Because also you lived in the city first. So what was a story of coming to the jungle and then creating roots here to build something like a wellness center?
It was funny you asked that because I just made a post about it yesterday. It's Nosara Bodywork 12-year anniversary. And it's a big deal. I was looking through the pictures yesterday and I was like, wow, I was a baby. Like I came, to Nosara 15 years ago. And I started working right away as a body worker and physiotherapist. And after a few years, I was like, okay, I think I'm, not that it was a conscious decision, like, oh, I'm ready. I know it's more like the universe was just pushing me to do it. So I think one of the things is like, I would say first, listening to the universe or the opportunities that are presented to you. I like to believe, or I say that I kind of like go with the flow. And that was one of the things, like I just kind of like happened to came to Nosara because at the time I was dating a guy that was here. I was like, oh, okay, I'll go check it out, And then I started like creating the roots. Eventually we broke up. He left, but I stayed, and I felt like just like this is my place. Like I want to stay. I still feel like I have more things to explore here. And it was the same. Like I was working at the Harmony Hotel, and it was like just like that relationship ended as well. And I was like, okay, what is next? Let's just see. And I remember thinking like, okay, if I can make it through rainy season, then I'll make other moves, right? And so like I start, my she said, like, I'm a physical therapist and a body worker. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to start with that. And at first was just going to people's homes, and it was just me, me and my hands and the passion, the ambition, a younger version of myself, eager to help. It's always been like about like following my calling. And I feel very lucky that since I was really young, I always knew that I wanted to help humans and help animals. So I always been around that in one way or another. And then it kind of like just naturally grew over time. Not me mentally deciding, but more like seeing the opportunity and listening and taking that leap of faith. Like, oh, can I bring someone else into the team? Or can I pay a higher rent to be in a nicer place? Oh, can I, like grow this vision, or this, not a vision, this dream of it was more like also like, how can I impact more people? Because at some point it was just me. I really felt bad because like people reaching out and they're in pain and they're like, can I see you? And can I have a session with you? And I was like, yeah, in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, right? Because I was like fully booked. And first, I know we're probably gonna tap into this at some point. Like I was working a lot, and like a lot of hours, a lot of, and like you have to reach the point where like take care of yourself as well. And I start learning how to say no and set boundaries so you don't like reach like a burnout. So anyways, it was in that like, I want to say yes, I want to help, but also I need to take care of myself. I need to have time to rest and have a balanced life. So it was like, okay, maybe I can bring someone else into the team because that way I can help more people, even if it's, like not me. Because it was like, then it was like, at least I can give them the option. If you want to see me, I can see you in 2 weeks. But if you're in a lot of pain, my colleague can see you tomorrow. And it was just kind of like naturally growing and evolving with that, with like the need for health care in the lines of what I do as physical therapy and body work. And also, yeah, just this desire of help more, reach deeper, help faster and better quality, right? So then it's like you think about like, oh, newer equipment or like a nicer. I remember like the first massage table I had was a really cheap one, and then it's like you're like, no, I want to invest in like good quality, like good sheets. Like how nice it is to lay down in a treatment room where it smells good and the lighting is good and the sheets are like hugging you. So yeah, I think, I don't know if that answered your question, but I feel like it's been just a journey of going with the flow, taking on opportunities, taking those leap of faith, believing in that inner voice, and fulfilling, as I said, like a need, maybe a need in the community. Like I remember me and my coach were like, this room's too small. We need to expand. And it's like, oh, do I really want to? And it's like, I don't know if I want to, but it's like, have to. It's this feeling of like, I have to do it. Again, it's like listening to that calling. Like my purpose, my mission is to help people. And how can I do that better and better? And so, yeah, I think that's the sort of Nosara bodywork.
Thank you. So I really could feel the passion as you were speaking about that. And what I would love to go into is I feel that for a lot of ambitious women, and I've seen this both in myself in New York City, because I was originally working in New York City environments. And obviously it was a little bit different because it was hospital settings. And, when you're working in more emergency settings, there is this sense of urgency and rushing. It's part of the job. Like we have to, one day you're walking in, you're drinking a cup of coffee. The next minute you're rushing to a room for rapid response. And it's normal. You drop your coffee and you go. And here in the jungle, and I'm sure you can speak to this, a lot of people are coming to relax their nervous system. They don't even know it. Probably they don't even know that that's the word that they're looking for, nervous system regulation, all those things. But I feel a lot of it is trying to de-stress from this really fast-paced lifestyle. And I find it very interesting because my first year here in Nosara, if I didn't catch myself, I was starting to move really quickly too. And I know it's not like there's nothing going on here. We still have our work to do, our purpose, our mission. But I find it's a fine line and a balance between not going towards burnout, which I've also experienced. I think many caregivers, many people who are in service-based professions, people who are naturally nurturing, it's almost as though we just know to give and sometimes forget that we also need to receive in abundance as well. It's part of the give and receive cycle, right? So I would love to hear your thoughts on what practices you might be using, or what was a powerful experience where you learned, okay, I do need to also prioritize myself and not just constantly care for people. Because I can imagine, especially in business, in going through expansion. I've gone through expansive cycles where it's like, I understand. It's like, okay, we're expanding. I feel my purpose. I have to do this. And there's also sometimes a fine line. It's like, oh, but I have to delegate this or relinquish control. We also move through that, right? Because we're so used to doing things a certain way. So I would love to hear your take on, have you ever experienced burnout to a certain degree? And what can you share in terms of how to honor that, how to move through that, and then how to safely expand without getting lost in the chaos of things as they unfold?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it was a hard lesson. It's been for many, yeah, entrepreneurs or business owners. Um, I think at first, I was just, I had this hunger for learning, right? I was young and I had just moved to Nosara and I wanted to, yeah, just get hands-on experience, right? Like you come out of university and you have very little experience. It's like, okay, I need hours. I need hours. I need hours doing massages. I need hours like reading, doing things with patients and stuff. Um, and I think one of the first tools maybe was like, okay, maybe what is the magic number? Like if I do 6 sessions a day, how do I feel after that? Like do my hands hurt? Um, or do I feel really tired? I feel like I don't want to like hang out with my friends after because I'm really, really tired. And so at first, I think I was just like working nonstop, like 12 hours a day, every day, no days off. And it was good. I think it was a phase. As I said, it was just, getting those hours. But then it's like, okay, let's figure this out. Like, okay, a normal work day is like 8 hours. How many sessions can I do in that? Like 6. And I started with like 6 and then I went down to 5. And now, 16 years later, I'm like 4 sessions a day is my number. And I feel good because I feel like I can give myself 100% to my clients. And I'm not left with nothing at the end of the day. So I think one is recognizing the amount of hours or the amount of if you're a if you're in this line of work, like how many patients you can see a day, or how many hours, right? Like I can be fully present for 6 hours, or so setting a schedule. I think at first when I just started going to people's homes and I had no schedule. Like if they want a session at 7 a.m. in the morning, I would do 7 a.m. in the morning. If they want a session at 7 p.m. at night, I will do it. Right. So then it's like, okay, maybe a schedule. Like, okay, let's find some business hours. Like what is like, so that was one thing for sure, like setting as simple as it sounds, like it was new to me. Like, okay, I'm just going to work from this hour to this hours. I'm going to block one day that at least one day a week that is a full day off, because otherwise that was the other thing, I didn't have days. I was like, no, I can do just maybe two clients in one day, but then that still is not letting you fully rest and restore. And so adding like the very strict day off at least. I remember thinking to a younger version of myself, like, I live in this beautiful place where like everyone serves and everyone does yoga, and I'm just like from my house to work and then back, dinner, sleep. Like I'm not enjoying Nosara. So then that was another wake up call. Like I want to enjoy nature. I want to enjoy all the beautiful things that Nosara has to offer. So then another way that I managed to do that was blocking time for myself. That are non-negotiable. So like if I wanna do a yoga class, I put it in the calendar, and it's as important as an appointment with a patient. It's an appointment with myself. Or if I want to go surfing, or if I want to walk my dog without rushing, I just block it. And it's a non-negotiable, which before I didn't do that. It's like, well, I was supposed to go to the yoga class, but this person really needs my help. And so it's like, okay, we can work with, that's why having a team is really important. It's like, I can do it, but someone else might. Delegating, obviously, super important too. Like when you start, like when I started, I was doing everything myself. And then slowly letting go of control, delegating things, allowing other people's to step up. Yeah. I think for me, movement is therapy. So I always recommend, doing some form of movement, exercise. That's very helpful for me. Time in nature nourishes me a lot. And when I say nature, sometimes it's just my pets, like just playing with my dogs or Yeah. Um, I think another tool, it's time alone. I we spend a lot of time giving and with people, right? And sometimes I feel like I just need silence and being on my own, and honoring that. And like, yeah, it's like, and I say it all the time. It's like, I'm actually more like, not that I'm an introvert. Some people might say I'm not. I feel like I am, but more like my social battery is not big. So after a big day of work and like being around people, I just, I just want to have some, like, cocoon myself in my house for a little bit. Um, yeah, I think those are the main things that have stopped me from getting to burnout. And also, I do push through when I need to, when I know there's an end. Um, in Nosara, for example, we have high season and low season. So I know like for 6 months, I'm going to have to push myself really, really, really hard. But I know come May, I can rest. So also having, like, mm, it, yeah, just that kind. When you see like a goal and you're like, okay, I know I have to push through, but then come this date, I can like pause. Um, Maybe that's very common to in Nosara. I don't think it expands to other places because in like New York City, probably you're always going, going, going. There's no like seasons. But here, that is another thing. Like I know that when I'm feeling really, really, really tired and I'm almost wanted to give up, I remind myself, it's okay, two more months, or to like this self-motivation, self-push when you know you're gonna rest after. Not just push, 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 push without knowing when it's gonna end.
Thank you. That was a lot of, I was listening. I was like, I think I need this for my own self-care toolkit. So thank you. Okay. So next I would love to go into, you and I both connected on this. We both have experience clinically, physical therapist, physician assistant. So it's like when we first came into this world, I know you started your business and your wellness center, but it's like you're still bringing that clinical background, which I think is really beautiful because then you can blend both Western and Eastern practices and philosophies into your work. And it's an integration. And I'm sure that you can go more into it, but I'm sure that you, even from what I've seen, because I'm also offering Reiki and Nosara BodyWork. So thank you for that beautiful opportunity. You are able to gauge what a client needs, what's best suited for their needs. So a lot of your work also involves intuition and, you have an incredible team that's able to support with that too. Gauging intuition, understanding what each person needs, and meeting people where they are. And when you've expanded and there are so many different people coming to you, it's almost as if you're not becoming a chameleon, but you do have to understand how to respond to each person, meet people where they are. It happens in service-based professions. Sometimes people can be rude. Sometimes they're in a hurry because they're feeling something very strongly, an emotion. They're very charged. And I've had it happen to me also as a healing practitioner where someone wants Reiki right away. And it's like, well, Reiki's never an emergency. So it's like, what's coming up for you right now? And so it takes this intuition and also discernment as to understanding what does this person really need right now? And also, how do I offer what I can do to help this person right now without getting entangled in whatever they're experiencing, because they're on their own journey and they're learning something here. It's not like we just drop them, but just offering our patience, offering non-judgment, and then also recognizing people are moving through their own journey. And to get to this level of discernment takes time. And I also believe it takes our own journey, which is very interesting. I think sometimes we forget. We see a person in a white coat and we just think, oh, they don't have any issues, right? Like they've never gone through financial struggles, or they're perfectly fine and healthy and all these things. And meanwhile, people are going through their own journey. And I can share that during clinical practice, I think a lot of patients, I think it's also a white coat syndrome thing. Whenever we wear the white coat, people just think, oh, you have all the answers and, everything is perfect in your life. And it's so not the case for anyone who's in a clinical field or even any other service-based profession. We move through our own experiences. So I share all of this to ask you, what is some experience that you might feel comfortable sharing today that helped open up your heart to more compassion and also helped you to meet people more in a deeper way where they are, because the voice that sees is all about transformation. Also letting people know that it's safe to be vulnerable and that also who we are today is actually a byproduct of our experiences. They don't necessarily define us. We don't have to hold on to our stories. We let those stories go that don't serve us. We hold on to the wisdom. And I know I have so many stories I can share. And I would love to learn. I would love to hear your story. Any story that you feel that could be resonant, that you feel is coming up today for you to share, because I know that even when I met you, I just could feel compassion, very genuine, raw compassion. And I know for those of us who emanate this level of compassion, it came with something. We had to learn it through something that we moved through. And I believe that that part of the journey is absolutely instrumental to what we're able to offer today. So I would love for you to share that story.
Yeah, I can definitely say that what people can see in the outside is very shallow compared to the layers and the depth of the experiences that each of us have had. And we don't know, right? Like, we don't know someone's story. So I like what you said about like coming from compassion and patient and offering patience and non-judgment. Because what we see is just the tip of the iceberg, right? Like what we see in just looking at you. I think, yeah, like we're not perfect, and our imperfections make us stronger, wiser. I mean, that's the idea, at least. We hope we can learn through hardship, pain, and I think every little. I mean, I have gone through a lot of things that people might not know, but I think every experience has made me more human, because I see it. So, like, just to start with an example, like people most likely will come for, right, BodyWork or physical therapy, and it's like a physical pain, or it presents itself as a physical pain. But we're there for an hour, and we're talking and we're connecting, and sometimes it becomes a space where people just release what else is going on. And I think that was one of the inspirations for the creation of Nosara Bodywork as a clinic, mixing holistic medicine and energy work with the physical parts. Like, oh wow, there is a connection here, right? Like, coming out of just physical therapy school, you're just very narrow-minded in like the physical part, which is fine, like the science, the anatomy. But then you like, one thing that I have learned through the years and working with people and living in Nosara is like all these other things, like our mental health, our emotional health, and the different things or situations that we're going through. So if we stay as just that white coat person behind, just you're the patient, I'm the giver, just be quiet, I'll give you what you need. We're really not getting to the root of what might be the triggers of that person, what is creating that physical pain. And they might not get to know us and see us as humans, as imperfectly perfect, and as beings that have gone through suffering as well. Sometimes people ask me like, oh, tell me something that I wouldn't guess about you if I just see you. It's like, okay, I'm a black belt in karate. In a past life, I was married. I was a past life because it feels like a past life, but I'm a divorcee. And at some point in my life too, I dated a drug addict, and I stayed in a very toxic relationship for longer than most people would think. And and through that, like, you're putting the face, right, when you're going through divorce, which is really sad and very, like, I would say, I'm just going to leave it at very sad in many different ways. Or when you are involved in a toxic cycle and you're in it and you don't know how to, you first don't know you're in it. And once you see it, it's like, oh, then comes the shame, like, why am I here? And how did I allow this? And then it's how do I get out of this? Um, so I think those are pivotal moments in my life that have made me look inwards and use all different tools, therapy myself, getting closer to my tribe, like my sisters, my family, getting very curious about whatever different things like grief, addiction, mental health. So reading a lot, asking, asking for help, asking for help. Um, and I think, yeah, it's just like journaling to feeling like to fully understand what's happening. And I feel like one of the most helpful things for me was just as I open up to my reality, like my marriage is crumbling and like, wow, how do I even admit this to my parents? Or, like how many people are going to be disappointed that I'm failing in this task? Um, but once I open up to that, or like, ooh, like I realize, I'm not in a safe relationship right now. And I talked about it, more people will come not just to support, but to share their stories and to make me feel like, oh, you've been there too. I'm not alone in this. Um, so I think there's something very powerful about being vulnerable, because then you welcome other people to come in, and show that humanness, right? Like this, like, oh wow, like I didn't know you also went through that. Like the more I talk about different things, I realize more of my friends, and that's also why it's not a coincidence. Like the people we choose, the people that are around us, the souls we connect with are there for a reason. We cross path for a reason. So I feel, yeah, like through those, whether I'm the one suffering and I'm sharing my suffering and my struggles to someone else, and that person is showing me their human side as well, and compassion and patience, then that also allows me to be a better therapist for my clients. Because then, as I said, it's like it makes you relatable. Someone can come, they came to Nosara. It happens a lot, like for like a yoga retreat, because they're going through a transformation in their life, whether they are going through a divorce, or they're living a toxic relationship, or they're grieving. For me, my biggest grief was losing my dog, because I don't have, you know, kids or anything like that, but I'm not comparing. I'm just saying, like, that was my grief, but I can relate to someone that is going through a grief, like whether they lost, like, yeah, another dog mom, yes, and also, grieving the loss of whatever. I mean, we lose things all the time. Like, we're constantly grieving ideas of ourselves, or, yeah, and I think another lesson for me was also like when I was like getting injured myself, and understanding the pain better, and understanding the timing of rehabilitation and the healing process of the body, and when we have to slow down. For me, that I'm someone like this, very physical and very active, like to be in stillness, it's a big deal. And that the good thing about like being with an injury is like it is an invitation to go inwards, because you cannot distract your mind through movement. And so I can share those things. But someone's like, oh, I feel so frustrated, because I was like, I know, I get it. I've been there too. And we can talk about the situations, or like the challenges that we have faced. Many things. I mean, Nosara is a very challenging place in general as well. Everything is so extreme, right? Like the weather is extreme. So to answer to your question, yeah, I think the more challenges I face, I realize I become a better therapist and a better human if I share, and if I open myself and I show myself vulnerable, because then I can hold a space for someone else to do that when they need, and I can be that person, like that, this, like, it's not a duality, it's like this polarity. Sometimes I'm the caregiver, sometimes I'm the one that needs the care, and it goes both ways.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm learning so much about you. I'm like just taking it in. When you were sharing, when you were sharing about how it makes you more relatable, I think that's a huge piece because I'll share with you. I don't know if you've ever struggled with this, but for me, I have struggled with perfectionism. A lot of it is, not to blame anyone. I know some of it is my own, but it's also societal. It's also cultural, trying to paint this perfect picture of yourself. You never want to show people when you're down or that it's weak to show that you're moving through something that might be challenging. And I will say the jungle has a beautiful way of stripping that and helping us understand that it's okay to be raw. It's actually who we really are because nature is so raw and authentic. And I love that you share that because, yeah, it does show that we're human. And also, what I gather from what you said is it builds resilience. I heard that in your voice. You are resilient because of what you went through. And it doesn't mean it's all challenges here. There's a lot of beauty here. It's waves, right? And there are more prominent waves here for sure. It's very, when you're moving through something, when you're relaxing, it's about finding the balance. At least that's what I feel personally for me. And it's beautiful because I'm able to witness that this is really synonymous with life. Life isn't always just a straight line. It can go in different ways. And just like you said, when we allow ourselves to go through those transitions ourselves, we're able to uncover wisdom, and then we can then share that compassion with other people. So just to give viewers a backstory about me, this is a previous episode. I just want to share it again because it's been a while since I've shared it. So my history is that I actually had thyroid cancer at 21. And that experience going into it from a medical standpoint, it's like, okay, you get the treatment, you're fine afterwards. But what I noticed is that for me personally, I noticed that my voice, I had a hard time sharing my truth, speaking up to ask for my needs. It felt like it came with a lot of pressure. And I will just share, Isis witnessed me with it yesterday when I was asking for support with microphones. It was so hard for me to ask, does anyone else have like another microphone or anything like that? And I just, I was present with it. And I also shared with you vulnerably. This is hard for me to ask for support. And I feel that I can also resonate with you in the sense that when I was diagnosed, I was actually in a relationship with someone that I don't like to label people, but it was a lot around narcissistic abuse. And it was very apparent. The name calling, there was some physical abuse. And when I've come out on the other side, that was long ago, over a decade ago. So I can speak to it, but I can see how so much of that was related. And it's true. People do carry emotional pain. It could be generational trauma. And without being able to speak to these things, people just can assume sometimes that it's just about the medication. And I don't believe that medications need to be dismissed. They do work. If someone is having an acute headache, for instance, and they need something and they don't believe in holistic healing, then they need the medication. They're not going to believe that anything works for them. Their consciousness is not ready to receive anything, right? It's just where they are, and we meet them there. And when we have both been awakened to our own experiences and we've seen, wait, people are coming for emotional healing. There's something deeper here. It opens our awareness and our hearts to understand that this is a multi-dimensional approach to people. It's not even just energetic, emotional, mental. What is your story from childhood? What is your story, if you believe in it? I do. Past lives. What is your, I don't want to bring all this up, but it's almost like looking at karma and things sometimes, not that we need to piece everything together, but it's almost as though when a person is speaking to me now, something speaks louder to me than just what they're expressing. It's almost as though I feel that they're sharing pieces of their heart they haven't felt comfortable sharing. We can hold this safe space for people because also it takes bravery and courage for them to do that. And it's a privilege to be on the receiving end of them being able to share that. And so I just thank you for sharing that because even as you share that, I felt tenderness in my own heart. It's like, okay, I remember that my journey, why it led me to this place. And I don't dismiss the years of working in clinical medicine because, again, a lot of my patients wanted to pray with me. They were like, can you pray with me? They want to speak about God and their faith. And that's actually how I learned about Reiki and holistic healing, working with the chaplain. who came from a Buddhist background, and he would bring in his Tibetan bowl and he'd be like, Beena, he kind of sensed my path was changing. He said, Beena, come in the room with me. I'll show you something. So it's like, how could I have witnessed that this is how the path would unfold? So when you share that, I love how you shared also it's opening up to taking a leap of faith. You didn't exactly know Nosara bodywork would start here, then it would branch out here, then it would do this. You don't know that part. And actually, that is not your part to know, which is a beautiful thing, right? That's how you get to surrender to the unfolding. And so I know we went a little bit here, there, everywhere. Welcome to my world. It's to share that everything is still as complex as it may seem. It's still all very interconnected. Even if you didn't share this with a client, even if you didn't share, oh, hey, this has been all my experiences, that embodiment naturally exudes. And I can share because we've kind of touched on this personally. I won't go into it unless you want to share. But given the history that I had with narcissistic abuse and also learning to, through the healing process, having more compassion for people as well, not necessarily just labeling, oh, empath, narcissist. It's like, okay, I have compassion because in truth, both people come into such relationships to receive love. And we've forgotten sometimes that it comes from within. It's okay, right? We all go through this as part of our human journey. And I feel that having walked that walk helped us also remember that we need to remember that we are whole to begin with. And when we see that for ourselves, we're able to see that in another person and realize, okay, they're just playing their part, their dance. Even underneath that facade, even they too just want to feel their own love, right? And again, this takes time and this takes its own transformation. And what I want to share today, which I think is the first time I'm sharing this on The Voice That Sees, is not even knowing your journey, but having met you last year and discovering how we can partner together. How can I work at Nosara Bodywork? What would that look like? Months following that, I went through my own journey of breaking the cycle of narcissistic abuse. And it's really interesting because I knew that I broke it because when I did, I cried tears. The amount of tears that I cried afterwards, I just knew these weren't just my tears. It was ancestral. I could feel it. I know I work with, I've worked with the Bribri tribe in Talamanca. I'm so grateful for their help as well as Inca Medicine School in Peru. And I also feel it takes a village. Not even knowing your story, I feel that there must have been a transmission where all of a sudden it's like things came undone, and including my own life, it's like God will supply the right people to help me on my path. I was able to break through that. And here we are speaking about our stories because this has been close to a year in the making, if not a year. And I do want to share the testament of holistic healing and having faith and believing in the power of empowering people to really offer from the deepest places of our hearts. And I would love to know if anything comes up for you, if there's a deeper part of your transformation you want to share. Perhaps any words of wisdom for anyone who's still moving through that. Something that you might have wanted to tell a younger version of you. Looking back, it's like I feel this tenderness, and this is what I would tell you now.
I was listening to another podcast the other day, and I want to share what I learned. It was there's not my words, is what the other person in the podcast saying about what does it mean to be whole. And it's not dismissing our shadows or not dismissing our quote unquote mistakes or bad decisions, but it's actually loving them, because we wouldn't be here now if we wouldn't have gone through the things we did. So I believe that there's not really wrong decisions. We make the best decision with the information and the tools that we have in the moment. And then there might be consequences that we don't like, but then we adjust. So yeah, what this person shared was so beautiful, because it's like, it's not about erasing our path or pretending to be perfect. It's about embracing those challenges that makes us who we are, and we can then grasp into that wisdom of like, okay, I can look back and say, wow, I really understand why I did that in that moment, and I know better now, and I won't repeat that again, and I can take the lesson. And I think that is part of being whole. It's like loving all of you, your moments when you're like high in the light and the moments where you're really down in the dark. Because I feel like we all go through that. It's part of the human experience. My friend Lindsay always says it's like going to an ice cream shop and you have to try all the flavors, and some might be your favorite and some might like makes you feel happy, and then maybe other ones like actually make your tummy hurt because they're too heavy, or like, you know, it's like, and it's like that. We have to go, this is the human experience, right? We have to go through experiences to be whole. I mean, I feel like that's one thing is like, because for me it was a hard like understanding like, oh, when people talk about the shadow, what is the shadow? And like, or I don't want to see it. It's uncomfortable. It's scary. And it's like, no, bring the light to shadow. And I was like, what does that even mean? And I think it literally finally clicked after seeing this, like listening to this other podcast, like, oh, okay. Yeah. I can see when I was in the dark, and I understand why I was in the dark, and send love and compassion to myself. Because yeah, I needed it to go through that. And it was until I was ready that I could come up. And then not hide it into this like, oh, I'm perfect. No, I'm happy to share my imperfections because I may be able to help someone else, and I may be able to inspire someone else. Or maybe someone is going through this right now and is listening like, oh, I'm not alone. Again, this is the feeling, right? I'm not alone. I think I lost my, oh, okay. The other thing I wanted to share was that, in the line of work of holding the space, I want to also just make sure, or like make the disclaimer that what I can offer to my clients and my patients is my scientific knowledge or my studies, my, like, you know, the books, the textbooks, and Isis as a person. I'm not pretending that I'm a psychologist or a psychotherapist or a emotional healer or anything like that. I don't have formal training in that, but I'm happy to hold the space, to listen, to share my story, not to give advice, but maybe because what I say might be relatable, you may relate and you want to ask me more questions, and I can only speak from my experience, and I'm happy to do so. But I'm not, you know, that's not who I am. I'm not a therapist. Like if you need, and I needed to, and that's part of the tools, right? Like if you need professional help, further assistance in going through, I'm not, you know, I'm trauma informed, but I'm not a trauma expert. And I'm not going to do that, right? So just to be fully like clear, like I will present my humanness in the session, and I will hold the space and I will share because I feel the value, the power of sharing, or as you said, even embodying my own story, with just maybe that being a gateway to you, my patients or my client, my friends, like maybe there's something else here that I need support and I'm going to look for another professional. And I think this circles back to you where you asked me, why is Nosara Bodywork offering all these different modalities? Is because I know my strengths and I know my limitations, and I know in different healing process the client might need different things, and I cannot offer Reiki, but I know how powerful Reiki can be. So if someone comes to my office and I realize they need support in a modality that I don't master, I'm very happy to, like, I can't do that, but I know someone, like go see Beena, or, you know, you need, I mean, we have acupuncture, we have IV therapy, nutrition, psychology, so breath work, you know, all the different modalities, sound healing. So like, it's just beautiful to be able to offer different modalities, because I feel like we all need different things in different moments in our lives, and depending on where we are at, the right medicine will be more impactful and more potent. Which for me also, I mean, that's been different journeys for myself. It's like, have I healed or overcome these different situations that were not necessarily physical but emotional? I tried all. I mean, I was like, yeah, give me all the medicines. I tried, ayahuasca and Cambo, and I did full moon ceremonies and cacao ceremonies, and like, cause you're like in the search, right? You're like trying to understand. So anyways, that was like my disclaimer. Like, I will offer you my humanness, and also know that I'm not a psychotherapist or a.
Thank you for that disclaimer. And also, the trauma informed piece is really helpful. And I also want to share, I know you're being very humble. You've always been, I know you're very modest and humble. You're still on this path of what I would sense, if it resonates with you, obviously use your own sovereignty, but I still see you as someone on a path of self mastery, just in your own branch. And that is the path of self mastery. It's not being a master of all the things, it's being a master of what you are here to serve, right? So I appreciate you sharing that, because that also allows for space for other people to shine their gifts. What are they here to master in, right? Sound healers doing their own thing. Different, karate even. That's also a different art of its own. So people are learning with their own medicine is what I like to call it. And I also believe that what we go through becomes our medicine. I'd like to just go into a little segue, just a little bit about animals, because I love animals too. And you're the president of Nosara Animal Care. So, doing what you're doing with Nosara BodyWork, and then also your love for animals, how do you balance that? Because again, we are multidimensional beings, and this could be really helpful for anyone, who's a wife, a mother, doing all the things, community worker. We do carry many hats, and it's not necessarily that one identity trumps the other. It's just, how do we hold them all in balance so that we can fully express all that we are and do it in a way that isn't depleting, but more life-giving for us and our community.
Yes. I mean, sometimes I do kind of like burn myself too much, but no. Joke aside, like, it's funny. I was just talking about this the other day and said, well, I only sleep 6 hours a day. I think that's how I can manage. But I think, yeah, you said it right. Like, it's what gives you fire, what like gives you more energy instead of taking. I can do that and more and more and more. So I know it sounds very simple, but it's not. It's like once you find your calling and your passions, everything is so much easier, right? So like I feel very passionate, and I really love my work as a therapist and working, with humans. I'm also very, very passionate about animals and helping animals. And since I was a little girl, I always wanted to either be back in the day, like in a 5-year-old little mind, like I want to be either a doctor or a veterinarian, right? And I didn't become a veterinarian, but for sure I'm helping animals. And that's also one of the reasons why I became vegan. I think that's a very important part of my, I'm vegan, and every time someone asks, it's like, it's for the animals. Like, I feel so connected to animals, and I couldn't picture myself hurting an animal, so hence I'm not going to eat them. But yeah, I have many little passion projects. Part of like Nosara BodyWork, we have a workout group at the beach that is called the Outsiders. So at some point, this was last season. I'll respond to your question. I'm just giving you context. I was running the Outsiders. I was running Nosara BodyWork. I was running Nosara Animal Care. I was also going through a remodeling of I bought an old house, and I was and it was like that in itself was a whole independent project. And I was also teaching karate for the kids. And I have a disabled dog. So Ali, it's another project herself, because like she can pee or poo by herself, and she was in a wheelchair and so like I had all these different things. And one day I was like, oh my God, like I don't know and I talked to my dad, and he gave me a piece of wisdom, and he said, there is a mathematical formula for happiness, and it's 5 más menos 2. So 5 plus minus 2. So you can manage, according to this philosopher, you can manage up to 7 things. So 5 plus 2 is 7. Or 5 minus 2 is 3. So the happiness is something in between. So if you're doing 5 things, 6, 7 is the very like limit. You can manage and be happy and be balanced. If you're doing, ideally you're doing at least 3, because we do need diversity, and otherwise it's boring and you might not be as happy if you're only doing one thing. And I remember I was like accounting with my dad. I was like, 7. Okay, this is my limit. Like I'm gonna have 7 projects, not all the time, but like a maximum of 7 projects. And that's how I can be happy and not reaching burnout, and showing up for myself and showing up for, and express myself. Because that's the other thing. Like if you only do one thing, it's fine. A lot of people are very passionate, professional athletes, and but like you can express yourself so much in different hats, in different modalities. Like, oh, it's the Isis that plays with the kids, the Isis that is, helping the animals, Isis that is right? So I feel like for me, that's a piece of wisdom. Like, okay, there's a mathematical formula, like 5 plus minus 2, and stay in that range to be happy. But it's all the things that, for me to say yes to something, it has to pull a string in my heart. I have to feel it, like, oh yes, right? Like when oh, you want to be part of Nosara Animal Care? Yes. You want to teach the kids? Yes. You want to, start doing this project? Yes. Only if I feel it, like that's how it would recharge me and not dim my light.
There's so much wisdom in that. And where I want to leave the conversation to bring it all together, again, just going back to this idea that perfectionism doesn't exist. It can exist, but it's not real. And in truth, when we embrace both our humanity and divinity, we realize that we are whole to begin with. And from that place, we can understand that, yeah, sometimes life happens, it goes through its waves. And also there's a lot of beauty. There's a lot to celebrate. And there will be a beautiful story that comes from whatever you are experiencing. So be here, be present, and learn to love it all. That's what I would say. Learn to love it all and take it one step at a time. This Sunday is 7 years with my personal brand, The Yoga Movement, and it's been such a journey. And Nosara BodyWork is celebrating 12 years, and I want to celebrate that. So congratulations. And where can our listeners and viewers find your work so that they can learn more about you? Maybe potentially anyone who's even coming to Costa Rica to travel, if they're going through a transformation, I'm sure that they could benefit from this.
So Nosara Bodywork is easy, nosarabodywork.com. And Nosara Animal Care, if you want to get involved, you want to volunteer, you want to donate, is nosaraanimalcare.org.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Isis. It was such an honor to have you here today. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I hope that you picked up on some wisdom. You got to see some raw personal stories. I was definitely absorbing everything Isis was sharing today. So again, thank you for tuning into this episode of The Voice That Sees, and I will catch you on the next one. Thank you.